If you're looking for a show that has formal interviews with few things you can relate to, then this show isn't for you. This is the On the Air podcast starring you, the OTAP show. What does OTAP stand for? Well, we kind of just told you. These are informal interviews with people from all walks of life, talking about experiences you can relate to. Share in all of the laughs with real stories from real people. Find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Android users can listen on the free Podcast Republic app. Now, get ready for this week's episode. Here's the OTAP show with your host, Corey.
Here we go. AK-47, the very best there is. When you absolutely, positively got to kill every motherfucker in the room, except no substitutes. Those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Now, if any of you sons of bitches got anything else to say, now's the fucking time!
Man under my command owes me 100 Nazi scouts. And I want my scouts.
I want you to go in that bag. Hide my wallet. Which one is it? The one that says bad motherfucker.
Welcome to another episode of the OTAP show. This week we're doing the Tarantino Unscripted. I told y'all by the time we came back we would have figured out a name for it. So the OTAP show presents Tarantino Unscripted. I'm your host Corey at The Real Shitty on Twitter. We have Greg New Age like Turner, and we have Cam at Just Mute Me Now, who just had the biggest struggle in the world with Skype. And if she thought we wasn't finna talk about that.
I really thought that was going to be all pre-show topic. I didn't think when we hit record it was going to come up.
The people need to hear this because I don't know about you, Greg, but I was cracking up.
Yeah, I was too. I was kind of just like, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It's like we're not in the 21st century anymore. She was like,
when you put the screenshot, I looked at the screenshot. It was a screenshot of your profile. And I looked at it and I was like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to type in her first and last name? Okay, maybe that's the name. So I typed it in. It was like 1 million of those came up. And I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work.
It took you like a good 15 minutes before you said, wait, did you just download Skype? Is that the problem?
Because this shit wasn't adding up, right? So when you sent the next screenshot showing me, that you trying, and I'm like, wait a minute, is this a fresh download? Like, did she just download it and was like, okay, I'm about to talk? I'm like, you gotta log in.
I didn't know how to, so I didn't figure out how to use Skype until 2016 today. This is the first day I figured it out.
That is interesting.
This is what we are here for, to teach you how to use Skype. It was like, you dead ass, well, let me add an email address. And I'm like, damn, I'm talking to my mom right now.
That's what I said. I was just like, I'm acting like a baby born.
Right.
Oh, shit. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with, this week we're talking about Django Unchained and the Hateful Eight. And I want to start with the Hateful Eight. I understand this is y'all two favorite. Yes. But I got a lot of questions about Hateful Eight. I liked it. It was my first time seeing it, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I want to start off with, so tell me if I'm tripping or not. Because I watched Django, and given the type of picture it is, they said nigga a lot in Django. But in Hateful Eight, it seemed like every other line, they were saying nigga. Mm-hmm. Post-Civil War, you know what I mean? With the free black man in the room. Am I tripping and thinking that they said it the most out of all the movies?
I don't know. Yeah, because I think they said something about Leonardo DiCaprio almost running like a world record for how many times he said nigger in one monologue. I'm not sure.
I'm talking about the entire Hateful Eight movie as a whole.
Oh, I don't know. They said it a lot.
That's what I'm saying. But do you guys feel like? Do you feel like that? The amount of time that they said it in the movie, generally we understand when they say it was, it's within the full conversation for that time, for those times or whatever the time set is for it. But do you guys feel like they were excessive with it in this movie? Or do y'all feel like it fit the time?
I felt like it fit.
Okay. I feel the same way. I mean, you got to really look at a conversation that Bruce Dern, his character plays Colonel Smithers, that's sitting down, and he said, which is kind of a cringeworthy thing, and he says, I guess Walton Goggins, Chris Mannix asked him, well, do you know that nigga? He was like, nope, I don't know that nigga, but I know he's a nigga, and that's all I gotta know. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know that that's not being said. You know what I mean? Like it might be excessive, but I don't know that it wasn't being said.
Right. No, I mean, I get it. I think so his character, I think the characters using it, I think that was well within the times. I was just sitting here like, damn, they really pushing the button like every other line. But it just stood out to me. It didn't take away from how good the movie was. Cam, your thoughts?
Well, no, in my personal line, I feel like people are saying it all day anyway. Like, I'm just not around to hear it, but I feel like that's what people are doing anyway. So, envisioning it in the Civil War doesn't seem like out of context. There was a moment that kind of got me when he yelled about, I don't give nothing about no northern niggers. And he was, super angry and mad. That one kind of took me aback a little bit. Like, you could tell he had a little hatred in his heart when he said that.
Yeah. How does it... I think we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, and I felt like maybe this movie would be certainly more appropriate for the conversation because of the amount of time they said. How does that... when you're... so your son is biracial, right? So when you watch movies like that, how does it make you feel hearing that with your son? Do you feel he's conflicted, or are you now conflicted because he's hearing it? Take me through the mindset of that.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, you.
My son is 10. He will not watch Hateful Eight for a little bit. But he's watched things I let him watch historically accurate films. And so he's watched a good portion of 12 Years a Slave. He's seen Roots. A lot of black films. And so to me, my son's biracial, but if you ask him, he will tell you he identifies as black. So
people
I can't really
identifying with everything these days.
Yeah, he identifies as black. He told his white grandparents, "You can't take my identity from me." So that's where he's at right now. But
that is fantastic.
I love it. But it's, in terms of that, I tell my son because his grandparents actually called me an N-word, and I told him what that word means and that he should not accept it. So I prepared him a long time ago if he was to go there and hear that. So in terms of my life, I like to expose my son to, historical accuracy, I think, and to the realities of the world. Not in Hateful Eight, for crying out loud. There's a whole scene that he can't watch that we'll talk about in a little bit, but
fair.
Okay. All right, cool. No, I find that interesting. Just out of curiosity, why I get it. He's 10, but from playing devil's advocate, right? So if he doesn't see, and hear some of the things in Hateful Eight on Hateful Eight, he'll hear it somewhere else. What's your what's your reasoning behind him just not watching it?
I'm not prepared for my son to hear anything about somebody sucking a black dingus. I'm not. Okay. I haven't gotten that conversation ready yet. That whole scene was a bit of a mind issue. It's not the sexuality part. It's not the niggers. I don't know how to explain to my son it was bigger than that. It was a lot bigger than that. He's not ready for it at 10. He's still playing Pokemon Go and Minecraft. So
I got you. Okay. All right, cool. Good deal. Cam, who was your favorite character?
Oh my goodness. In any movie with Samuel L. Jackson, when any movie is playing a major role, it's always Samuel L. Jackson. However, I didn't feel he was the strongest in this movie. I felt like this was actually one of his roles where he was playing Samuel L. Jackson. Mm-hmm. And so as much as I love Samuel L. Jackson, he's not my favorite in this one. I actually like the mayor of the town, his buddy at the end. Names escape me.
The sheriff.
Okay.
I'm about Chris Maddox.
Yeah,
okay.
I liked him because he was comic relief. He was just different. He was unlike characters I had seen before, I think.
Okay, Greg, you?
You know what's so funny? I actually have the same character. Mm-hmm. For us, it went from... The reason I like him is the fact that he's not a villain and he's not necessarily good. But as the movie transitioned on, they made it so you had to like him. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't have to... Like, you got to understand, they had the conversation initially. And he's just N-word this, N-word that. I've killed blacks on my side. I've done this. So apparently, like, when you look at it, you're not really supposed to... This is not really a good person, like, at all.
Right.
So when you kind of come full circle... You know, you feel the way he's almost drinking the coffee. Maybe he's not. You know, he exposes his letter as not being real. Like, he does a lot of things, but you kind of, you know what? I think I'm supposed to still like this guy. It's one of the weirdest characters I've ever seen because it was like he set him up so much for you not to like him, and you just like, yo, I like this dude.
Yeah, you're right. So I'll say he was my favorite character also. So we all agree, and it's for the same reasons. Like so at first I was like, okay, well he got in the buggy. One, I wasn't prepared for. Okay, spoiler alert if you ain't never seen it. I didn't think that Kurt Russell was going to die. I thought he was going to play that through the whole movie. But
oh yeah,
and I actually thought it was going to be the sheriff dude. I thought the sheriff dude was a minor character just for comic relief for a little bit to get us to a different point. No, he's actually he is the major character in the movie. And you're right, like, so even like at the table and he's exposing the Lincoln letter, you're thinking, man, this dude is an asshole. Like, he's not funny at all. This dude's a real jerk. Like, but was it the fact that he didn't kill Samuel L. Jackson? Was that the redeeming quality? Or for you guys, did he redeem himself before then?
I think it was when Sam uncovered the plot and against all odds, he trusted him and he kind of was like, hey, and he joined Sam's team. And some of the comic reliefs during that, when he said, I'm going to go with the ugliest one, and that's you. Like, he just seemed to me like he kind of aligned himself with the winning party. And it was kind of endearing, I think.
Yo, he said, and I know which one I'm going to choose. And he was talking big shit.
Especially, he was talking big shit, especially when he figured out that Joe Gage really did poison the coffee. He just knew. You know how you know somebody that knows something that's right? It seemed like it happened for the first time. That's exactly what that was.
Yeah. Oh, man. I was watching it with my mom, and we was rolling. Like, yeah. Okay, so same question for you, Greg. Your thoughts?
As in what? Which one?
What did you feel? When did you feel like he redeemed himself?
For me, I don't necessarily think that he did. I think a lot of, like, for him, he felt how can I put this? He did a lot of things in that house self-preservation wise. He did. Because once he felt about the coffee, I don't know if he did. Okay, say he didn't pick up the coffee at all. Say he didn't see Kurt Russell or OB die from the coffee. Kurt Russell saved his life. Think about would he would have took that deal and would he would have shot Samuel Jackson if he never picked up a coffee at all. So I don't know that he necessarily redeemed himself. I just think the self-preservation was like, you know what? You're not giving me this deal, and I don't believe in this deal. So me and Marcus Warren is better off than you and the deal that you have.
Damn. I didn't even think about that. Cam?
Well, you know, and I said this, I think, last movie, I kind of go the way of Sam. And when Sam offered his camaraderie, and he didn't do it for any reason like I trust you. He was just like, no, logically, you're the only person I can trust, not because of any reason. I mean, that was the turning point because if Sam wouldn't have offered that to him, I don't think he would have went that way either. So, but it was endearing. I like that buddy cop moment it had for a second there. So.
Yeah. Favorite scene, Greg?
So it has to be favorite scene. I would have to say. Well, you know what? I guess the initial buggy ride between John Roof and Marcus Warren. You know, the Lincoln letter was a lot because it meant a lot. He said in that scene that after he read it, you know, you can see him. Like, even if you look at the emotion in Kurt Russell's face, that he felt the way. He even said when he said the last lines, he quoted the last lines in the letter. He said, "It still gets me." He like, "Yeah, it still gets me too." And it's like, yo, he wrote it. Domagoo spits on it. He almost breaks his arm to kind of get that's a lot. And you transition from that to them sitting at the table, and he says to him, the only time black folks are safe is when white folks is disarmed. And that letter disarmed him completely for it in the buggy and to kind of maneuver however he wanted to. Now he felt betrayed. Like, he felt betrayed over a letter that couldn't have been real, but that's how they felt about winning the war. And, you know, just black and white relations at that point. And it was so thin. Like, we have to still look at it. It was so thin. You got to understand, like, even the first part of that, initially, when he's even asking for a ride, he says, "Well, this is Major Warren to you." She like, "Howdy, nigga." He like, "You know, the darkies don't." You know what I mean? Like, it was still thin. OB called him smoke when he walked up to the thing. It was like, thin line. Well, okay, I understand what you fought for. Trusting you. The letter allowed him to trust him as far as he can go. And I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yo, old girl took a lot of fists to the face in that movie, man.
I don't know how this is going to be received, but I thought that was one of the funniest gags in the movie. There were like two running gags in the movie. And the one was them the door busting open and somebody's like, "Hammer it, you need two planks. Hammer it, 2 nails."
Yo.
I love that gag. But then I like the fact that every time Domagoo talked, somebody like slugged her one. And it was kind of like almost random in a sense. And she just expected it and it was okay.
And you know what the scariest thing about, scariest thing about that? I don't know if we turned a blind, because Domagoo was so bad, I don't know that we turned the eye to women's abuse. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we had it like, oh, well, she was talking smart, so I guess she got hit in the mouth. Which is probably what was wrong completely, but she was so terrible of a person.
Jesus Christ.
You know what I mean? Like, she was so horrible of a person, you kind of just was like, I probably would do the same thing.
But you're right.
The first time I saw that movie, when she spit on the letter and the reaction was so immediate, I laughed out loud. The first time I watched it, and he and knocked her out that carriage. I laughed out loud.
What made it so funny is when he punched her and she flew out the carriage and dude fell out the carriage with her.
Yeah.
It was like, you're right though. It was like, okay, you know, when you think about it, it's like, damn, like they really showing like, you know, women's abuse, but you know, immediately you justify it as, all right, well, this is 1858 and she kind of deserved it. Like you can't, like you can't say that shit today. You can't be like,
the bad part is you can't even say it then. But it was so apparent. But it was kind of like, okay, talk smart, elbow, spit on a letter, punch. She got food threw on her face. She got locked up. She got spit on. She got blood spit on. She got a foot shot off. You know what I mean? It was a lot. I was just kind of like, all right, well, it's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. Like, I don't know.
Hey, she was hella flavored throughout the entire movie, man. She was like, even when she got the guitar and she started singing, and that last verse when dude took the guitar and broke it, I was like, man, this chick here is just wow.
And you know what the funniest story about that guitar? That actually was a guitar from like some rock and roll Hall of Fame or something.
Damn.
And it was actually supposed to be a prop, but he took the real one, and Kurt Russell actually broke the real one. So her reaction when he breaks it is absolutely real because he wasn't supposed to break that one.
Right. And so, like, I can imagine as Tarantino, as a director, you're conflicted, right? Because this is a real moment that she's experiencing, and you want to keep that. But on
and he's tapping it.
Yeah. In the same talk, you're like, dude, you just that's coming out of your pay.
Yeah, and it's priceless. Like, for now, they don't even let him. They said he can't rent anything from that ever again. Like, ever.
I wouldn't rent shit for him. I wouldn't rent shit to him either.
I mean, but this is also, if you quick jaunt to Django, this is also the guy that kept rolling when Leonardo DiCaprio cut his hand and smeared it all over Kerry Washington's face. Like, I'm not sure Tarantino ever calls cut, ever.
Right.
Nah. And speaking of which, his film style, so he uses actual film. He still uses actual film in his movies. And I think it's super dope because it gives you just enough grittiness. He's still analog with his, and it works. And it works.
You can see that. You can see it.
Django was shot with the 70 millimeter, wasn't it?
Yes,
I think
the Hateful Eight was too. Like, I think they got it from random place in LA. They had dust on it. They like, yo, we're just gonna dust it off and just 70 millimeter, and it looks fantastic. Like the Blu-ray, spotless. Like,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Like you're using something from like 1945 or something like that, and it still looks like you did it from 2016. It's beautiful.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let me see. Oh, my favorite scene. Let me think about what my favorite scene was in the movie. I think mine was. I think it was for different reasons. It was when Samuel Jackson uncovered the plot. Because the way he broke it down, because I was breaking it down with him, like when he first saw the jelly bean on the floor, I knew it was something then. Okay. And when he asked the sheriff to take the gun, and he told him, he was like, "You the only one that didn't drink out that you were about to drink out the pot too, so I know it wasn't you." And then he broke it down through all of them when he was like, because he already knew there was some shit, but he was gonna play it cool and he was gonna be cool. Everybody was gonna go on their way, I believe. But then when that happened, and he went over to who was it, Bob, and he was like, "Do you remember the sign that was up there?" And she
yes.
Bob the Mexican, and he said, when she took the sign down, you know why? The sign said that what was it? No dogs and Mexicans allowed. No dogs and Mexicans. No dogs and Mexicans allowed. And she took it down because she started letting the dogs in. And, and then he said, "So you mean what?" I'm paraphrasing. He said, "So you mean to tell me that she went on up to her mama's house and left her haberdashery in the hands of a goddamn Mexican?"
No, I can't agree with that, man. I think a lot of a lot of us don't understand. Well, we probably do, but if you watch the movie over, you can see a lot of subtleties, like whether it was the sign, whether it's the jelly bean, whether it's the hat, whether it's how we wanted to figure him out in the barn. Like, it was a lot of stuff that kind of led up to that until like, he gave us the end of that plot. He gave us the end of that movie with 2 chapters left.
Basically.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But still, to me, it was still a surprise because I didn't know what was going to happen at the end.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so the climax of the movie. Was this one of Tarantino's better climaxes? The ending?
I would say no. I don't think it's one of his better climaxes. But as a whole, the movie to me is my favorite. It's hard to say that because Pulp was probably up there. But in terms of dialogue alone, Hateful Eight is up there for me. And the climax didn't do it for me because it kind of became inevitable that it was going to end up that way. But yeah, I actually was kind of let down by the climax. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Compared to the rest of the movie. Because when the plot was revealed in the end, I kind of felt like I knew there was something nefarious going on, and that didn't necessarily surprise me. So I was more surprised by their buddy relationship than how everything turned out. Except for the end. I can't remember what Sam said exactly, but he said in slow-mo, "Are you going to take a deal with this? What do you call her? Devious bitch? What did he say?
Diabolical.
Yeah, diabolical,
bitch." Like, she put it in slow-mo. There was a moment I thought he was going to have to make the deal with the diabolical bitch, but
he came through in the clutch. Same question for you, Greg.
Was it one of his best? No, because I believe that Reservoir Dogs is never going to top any climax that he's ever going to do in his lifetime. But but no, I kind of agree. It got to a point when, once he didn't take that deal, you kind of knew what it was, and they gave you a little suspense at the end. She cuts off John Roof's arm to try to get to the gun, and it was a lot. It was a lot getting there, but overall, I thought it was kind of predictable once it got to a certain point. But overall, like, it doesn't take away from the movie. Like, every time I still watch it. I watched it last night, but
I watched it twice.
Yeah, it didn't take away from what the build-up was to get to that point. Even though it's not going to be like the Pulp Fictions and it's not going to be... I still loved it, like, completely.
Can I go to my least favorite scene? Because I don't think I've ever talked about... So my least favorite scene was Samuel L. Jackson's Black Dingus scene. And if you haven't seen it, it's not like a nude or something or a full frontal.
That scene like progressively got like when at first I was cool with him, like just picking at him because he was trying to get him to shoot him so he could shoot him. But that scene kept getting progressively worse, and I was like, "Nah, man."
Okay, look. So let's look at this. We can all agree that the first time you seen it, it was a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
yes.
Perfect. Because I thought the same, and the first time I watched it, I didn't go to the movies to see it, and I bought it on Blu-ray. So the day that it came out, watched it then, and I was like, shit, this scene is a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get that a lot with movies. Like, I get, like, this scene is a lot. And I understand, and like Cam was saying, we understand the overall of it, but when you first watch it for the first time, it's a lot to take in.
And I didn't like, I don't know, something about my big black dingus and my big black jaw. It just wasn't... It didn't give me, I don't know. It wouldn't have made me mad. I would have laughed more if you would have described.
I did like the fact that he didn't use the word dick, and he still had the desired fact of how he wanted to do his thing.
Because I thought he was gonna say it.
I did too.
When he said dingus, I just started laughing. I was like, shit, okay.
Do you know what he reminded me of? Do you remember that guy we found videos on who he said black men don't have cocks? We have schlongs. That's what it reminded me of. Like, I've never looked at a penis and said dingus or Johnson. So it didn't really resonate with me.
You knew the scene was going to be serious when they showed him walking dude naked in the snow.
Yeah. I was. The funniest thing, like, when I was listening to the dialogue, I was crying laughing. Like, I walked his naked ass for 2 hours. That was the funniest thing at all.
Yeah. Did anybody else predict that there was going to be some kind of oral sex claim in there? Because I saw it coming. When he talked about walking him naked and I knew where he wanted to get that man, I was fairly certain he was going to engage in some kind of situation with him.
It wasn't, because when that wasn't when it was for me. When I realized it, I was still at a point where, man, don't do that. Man, don't come on, bro. Like, and because he was like, when he was like, and he was cold and all he wanted was a blanket and he would do anything for that blanket. And I was like, come on, man, just give him the blanket. Because he was so descriptive. The part is, you don't want to, not only do you not ever want to picture yourself in a situation like that, you don't ever want to picture somebody else in that situation. Right.
And I think that was the biggest thing for Colonel Smithers is like, you seen Samuel Jackson say, do you get the pictures yet? Because he's vivid at what he's saying. Like, he's vivid.
When he talked about the blood in the throat, he was like, it isn't warm because his mouth was full of blood. And you're just like, dog.
If you cut somebody's arm, your blood still warm. It's just what it is. So you just picturing that he's killed niggas, he's killed white people, he's killed so many people. So he knows what that feeling feels like. You know what I mean? Like, he knows how that is, standing over a body and seeing warm blood and different things. Like, he's seen that. So for him to let him picture it, man, I don't know. Look, I don't know, man.
Hey, here's a question. Do you guys actually think that happened, or he was just saying it to set him up? Because I'm on the fence about it. I don't know.
So
I am so glad you said
I am on the fence also. I am also. What you think, Greg?
I will have to say that I do not believe him. I believe that was a story that he had just to kill him. And the reason I say that is because if you really think about it, other than the three bodies that other than the three bounties that he had, everything else was a lie. Everything except
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, everything else was except the stuff that Chris Mannix knew, but that was before the war. And he's saying that people came up to try to kill him and he killed them and whatever. You never know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that because he did say about how he had to disarm people. So maybe this is all bravado. I mean, it was a big gamble. Yeah. It really jumped out there, but I couldn't tell upon watching it, and I've watched it a few times. There was no obvious tell for me that story was completely fiction. It was kind of after analyzing it. So
he was hella descriptive too, and a lot of times when you people insert a shitload of detail, a lot of times those stories prove themselves to be fictitious. But
yes,
did anybody? Oh shit! I can't believe for the actors. So when they actually when they showed the soft porn view of did anybody else laugh?
Yeah, I thought that.
Okay, all right, cool.
It just seemed too over. I don't know. It seemed over the top to me. And then to hear Samuel Jackson, who I don't think of sexually in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, to hear him talk about his big black dingus and the way he rolled those words off his mouth, it was too much for me. For Sam, I can't.
Okay, because I was cracking my ass up.
I was too. Like I said again, the first time was kind of like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. Like, I don't know where this is going. But then the second, third, fourth, fifth time that I watched this movie, I'm just like, this is hilarious. Like, this is the greatest thing ever.
All right. What was your favorite? I don't think I asked this one. Your favorite dialogue between what two characters?
Well, you actually hit on mine, so I'm going to have to come back to it because I was going to say when Sam revealed the plot and he brought up the dogs and Mexicans. That was actually my favorite, like, sleight of hand, because I just didn't see the racism coming out of that for some reason. I didn't.
Yeah,
it caught me by surprise. But she's like Mexicans. That came out of nowhere. So,
Great.
I would say, I guess, in the carriage earlier is with Sheriff Mannix. Well, it's always weird because I say Sheriff Mannix, but he might not even been the sheriff at all. Like they all
all their asses could have been like,
yeah, like nobody could have been anybody.
Nobody was who they said they was in that movie.
I think for us is because it touches so close to home and how we look at, like, now, like that was 1858 or whatever the hell it was, and the sheriff is telling, he's speaking completely in the cabin to everybody that, when white folks are safe, when niggas are scared, white folks are safe. And I think that's for us, we kind of look at it as, that's how it's kind of looked at. Like, like when we look at us and we're scared to do anything, whether it's go to work or go, get in our car to go to the park or whatever. They're fine when we're not forceful. When we're not forceful and we're not protesting or we're not anything, it's really okay. Like, everything is fine. Like when a nigga don't say nothing, then that's when we're perfectly good. When it's great. You know what I mean? Like, it's the best thing. But when we start, like, you can go back, and I don't really throw sports into this, but if you go back with the Cap thing, that's scary. You know what I mean? Like, that's a black man not being scared of whatever comes after whatever he's doing. That terrifies people. So they're not safe anymore. Whether it's the anthem, whether it's other black people doing something, whatever it is. And I think that was significant for us because it's just like, like, a lot of that shit don't change. And I think maybe they didn't have that conversation back then. But I'm glad Quentin Tarantino actually threw that in there because it's how people feel.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think my favorite scene was with Samuel Jackson and the Colonel before shit went left, when they actually sat down and had a civilized conversation, because it was, when he said, I was out there on the battlefield, or you gonna deny me that too? And he told him, I guess you can sit down, and they talked. I thought that was a pretty cool moment. Did not know that shit was gonna turn into what it turned into. But I thought it was a good moment.
And you know what's so weird about that moment too is it kind of looks like he's not lying because he kept asking about his family. Like, he kept asking about his son, and he was just like he knows. Now, he might have known from the war because you can know stuff like that, but he kept asking, like, you know what, like, hey, so your wife from Georgia? You know what I mean? Like, or, your son came up. Like, he was doing a lot, and it was just, you just didn't know. But, at that point, you gave him a second of respect. You know what I mean? Like, even if he didn't care for him as a black man, it was like, okay, I give you a second of respect because I guess war transcends any type of color, apparently.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Cam? You wanted to touch back on something?
I'm sorry, I just sneezed. What was that question?
I said you wanted to touch back on to something with your scene.
No, just with that, but to touch on, and I couldn't care less what he told the Colonel to get him dead. I couldn't care less. The story was over the top, but I have this thing. I don't want to have that break bread and respect you a little bit for this, but I still hate you, nigger. I couldn't stand him from beginning to end, and I couldn't care less. But you know what I did like about him? In the end, when they revealed he was kind of like, he was, I guess, not part of the plot, but he was planted there. And he said, I don't care about nobody. This ain't got nothing to do with me. Seeing the other side of the character, because you saw him as like this kind of cold, racist, whatever. But then to see him just like, hey, I ain't see nothing. I ain't here. I don't care about y'all. I'm going to just sit over here with a blanket. That part was really interesting to see the other side of the character that you didn't get to see. And so it kind of, whereas I had a hard heart towards him, seeing that part kind of gave me more, I don't know, a little more sympathy for him. Not much, but a little more sympathy for him.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's move on to Django because I know you got to get out of here in a minute, Cam. Let's talk about Django. I'm gonna jump right into it. Who was your favorite character in Django, Cam?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, all right.
Leonardo DiCaprio. And
Why?
it's not because he's attractive in that movie, because I do think Leonardo DiCaprio is attractive. But it's honestly because Leonardo DiCaprio came out.
It's because you like white dudes.
I knew you were going to go there. And we just talked about biracial baby earlier.
I was just messing with you. I was just messing with you.
The biracial baby was earlier in this. I was just like, people going to know. They going to know. I typically, well, yeah. So, no, but like, I like Leonardo DiCaprio because you ever watch a movie and you're like, man, he came off real racist. Like, I kind of believe, like, 12 Years a Slave did it for me. With Michael Fassbender and his wife, and I never can remember her name. But Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know why he didn't win an award for that because it was nasty. His portrayal in that movie, especially the scene where he escalates from calm and you don't think he's discovered the plot until he slowly reveals he gets it, and then he becomes absolutely diabolical. Yeah, I think Leonardo DiCaprio, that was one of his best performances of his career to me.
Okay, Brett.
I'll have to say the same though. Like just being the main antagonist. You got to a point where even that the fact that he was saying nigga a lot, like you couldn't really not like him though. Like you know what I mean? Like you can hate him, but you really could not like him. You know what I mean? Like he was charming. He was charming. You got to look at the one scene when they first come in. So they first come in the door and he's telling him. He said, like, don't speak French to him because it insults him. Even though he wants everybody to call him Monsieur Candy. You know what I mean? Like, don't.
Yeah.
So he walks in the door, and he's still like, you know what? I'm going to get everybody a drink. I'm charming as shit. I know what I know. I want you to know what you know. And Sheba, you stay right there. She was like, you know I don't mean me. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, he was... Like he was that dude as soon as he stepped on the screen. Like I know Christoph Waltz. I know he won Best Supporting Actor for that, and you can't knock him for that. Like I get that,
right?
But you can't like what he did. Like the fact that even I've heard that like Leo was telling Jamie Foxx because they're friends in real life, so he was telling him like on the set, like I'm sorry because. He was just so in the character that he was like, man, I don't even call people niggas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even call them. But, like, I didn't want an Oscar, and I'm trying to get an Oscar. Like, I get it. It was just that good. And he was a slave, man. What did you, like, it's funny because people were like, well, I didn't expect Leo to play like that. He's a fucking slave,
What
man.
did you think he was going to do?
But that's what Leo does. That's Leo's thing to completely get into things. But when Greg said he's charming, that's like the one word I couldn't figure out what I'm talking about. It reminds me of what I would think of those Southern gentlemen who are super charming but completely devious underneath it. Mm-hmm. Like you don't know when to care for Leonardo DiCaprio and when to run. It was a weird dichotomy there.
Like the two black dudes was fighting. That was like I'm like shit. Like, that happened. Like, that could be me. You know what I mean? Like, if I was in another time, that could be me. And I don't think I'm winning that against Big Fred. You know what I mean? I don't think that's a one-on-one that I'm favored in. You know what I mean? So you look at that one thing, but then he still comes up. He tells the black woman, he tells everybody else to go. He gets everybody a drink. And he's so eloquent with what he's saying, but he's still a horrible fucking person.
Didn't it end on "Don't you want to shake on it"? Like he still wanted to have the chivalry at the end. Like, do you want to shake on it? And they're just like, I'm not shaking your damn hand. And that took him over the edge. Everything else was okay.
I thought he was just fucking with him at that point. But you're right. That was probably still that was just part of him. Like this is what you do in this situation. I got to say he was my favorite also. So this is another movie where we all agree on the same one. He was my favorite in the movie. And it was because how great he was in that role. Like he really became that role. I think people were taken aback by it because they didn't expect for him to be so believable and so charming. because charming is the operative word there. He certainly was, and super hilarious. Like when he said he was like get back on the horse, and he was like I can't. And he was like, will somebody please help him get back on that damn horse?
I know. You gotta understand, if I break my collarbone, I'm out for 4 weeks from work. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be that. And he was just, could you please help him? Like, no, you're not getting that. Huh? What are you doing?
He said.
Then he had an Ike moment with the cake at the end. We're just like, no, we good on the cake. We're just gonna, sign this over, pay your money, and leave. He's like, no, we having cake. The cake will happen. I anticipate a cake this evening.
Exactly. He was like, how much did he pay for the dude? Did he say he paid $500 for him? He said, if I pay $500 for a nigga, I'm expecting to get my $500 back. Who gonna get my $500? You gonna get my $500?
But you gotta look at that scene too. So you look at that scene, he comes out, he says to D'Artagnan, which was the slave that was there, he's saying, he's like, I paid $500 for you. I expect 5 fights. And when he first walked up, he said, now, don't you play on my soft heart. And it's just like, dude, like, am I supposed to like you? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Once he leaves.
Because I was sitting there, I was like, damn, he got a point.
Right. And then once he walks off. Agree. So once he walks off, so the dogs are getting at the slave, and then he goes to Jamie Foxx and he says, don't worry, I ain't never seen a nigga like you in my life. He said, and then he just looking like, I'm just like, dude, like, how can you be this charming? Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know if it's the blue eyes. Like, what are you doing?
So I like different subtle references that I catch in different movies. So the slave was named D'Artagnan. I peeped that as being a reference to his role in Man in the Iron Mask when it was the Three Musketeers, and which was a good movie. I like the Man in the Iron Mask, but yeah. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. Cam had her tidbit. That was mine. If y'all ain't people.
Well, Django's saddle is in Hateful Eight.
Yes.
Yeah, you just couldn't let me have that one, huh?
But I got another one.
I want to top it. Can I top it? I already can top it. So technically, the only thing. So Tim Roth's character was actually not supposed to be English. He was supposed to be Russian. And then Christoph Waltz was actually supposed to play his character, but he got it conflicted with another movie that he was doing. So that's why he has the same exact code as Christoph Waltz in Django, as like when they were first initially hit first scene, they have the same exact code on because he was supposed to be Tim Roth in The Hateful Eight. He actually wrote that part for him and he couldn't do it.
Well, thank both of y'all for putting me out. Damn it. Shit. All right, so what was your favorite dialogue between what two characters?
Cam, you go.
That's a good one. Oh, look at that. I was about to have a black single mom moment and yell out, "Go back to bed, I'm on the phone," but he's good. He just rolled over. No, I like, you know what I really like? I like the fact that Broomhilda, it was interesting how they played, how Jamie Foxx played into her being German or knowing German. Like she's not German, but she just knows German. And so I love the scene where she came out, or he came out, he said, "Babe," what did he say when he announced himself to her? Oh my gosh, because it was so sexy. How did I forget?
Oh, hey, big trouble, Megan. Hey, little trouble.
Oh my goodness.
That was the one for you?
Yeah, and then Christoph had been speaking to her in German, and then he came out and said, "Oh, I lost it."
Cam got more choice. She got more.
I was looking for a Django to come throw me over some saddle somewhere.
Did you want Django or did you want Mr. Candy?
But you got to kind of play your position. To be honest with you.
No,
you got to play your position.
I'm just messing. All right, so that was who did you say it was again?
That was between. Well, I mean, it was only one sentence, but when Christoph originally started by speaking German to her, and then Jamie Foxx came in and said, "Hey, the little troublemaker."
Gotcha. That sounds like a move I would have pulled. I'm pretty sure I did something like that.
It would make sense.
What was yours, Greg?
I guess it would have to be, Big Daddy Don Johnson and the crowd. I think that was a scene in there for me that I was laughing uncontrollably, like, because I couldn't. They had no plan. They didn't know what was going on. They were really mad about Ellis, Raj, and Big John getting killed at the plantation. And they come out. You have the rare Jonah Hill 3-line thing, and it was fantastic. And then the guy that probably lived because he was so upset because of the bags. It was so like, you know, like I had my wife work all day for 30 bags for you sons of bitches, and you can understand how ungrateful they were. Ridiculously ungrateful. And he's telling him, you know what? Let's not worry about we see. Let's just make sure the horse sees, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Hey, he said,
he was. I don't know. I think for me, it's weird because I don't know who follows you after that. Like that wasn't game 7. That wasn't halftime game. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not giving me anything.
Yo, he was definitely not Lombardi when he said that shit.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's a lot of scenes in there, but for me, that does a lot because, you know what I mean? Like, you can get like the Jonah Hills, and he's Oscar nominated and everything, and you get the 3 lines that he has, and you know, you get the rambunctious riot crowd, and you don't really know what to do. They just following this guy, and they most of them get killed because they following a terrible plan.
Dude said,
isn't it crazy how Tarantino has so much comedy in there? Like, absolutely. A lot of his movies are super heavy, yes, but they're also crazy, hilarious, and so much comic relief. Between Hateful Eight and this one, like, there were so many just LOL moments that I was having with that.
I think my favorite moment, my favorite dialogue was probably between Christoph Waltz and the U.S. Marshal, because he
in the very beginning,
in the very beginning when he got him to agree to not shoot him, and then he told him who he was and why him shooting dude was okay, who he could go and get a reference from, and then he finished it off. He was like, so basically what I'm saying is you owe me $200. And then Django was like, damn. Yo, so check it out. I did a really cool thing with this because they threw numbers around a lot. So when it comes to inflation, like, I'm super lost. So I picked up an inflation calculator. So the year was
throwing a curveball on us.
So this is my moment right here. So cool. He offered Django $75. He was gonna give him $75 per person he killed, or a portion of it, something like that. So in 1858, if we adjust it for inflation today, $75 was like giving him $2,205 per person he killed. He got $200 from the U.S. Marshal. Oh shit! No, let's say $2,000. Hold on. He got $200 from the U.S. Marshal. So his bounty he received today would have been like $5,882. He went to Candyland and paid $12,000. So that was like, oh, that's $1,200. Wait, my bad. Fuck. 12,000. 12,000 was like $352,941.18. So you can understand why he was like, first you had my curiosity, now you got my attention, because you just offered this man $352,000.
Yeah. So basically, what you telling us, because of inflation, we should kill people for a living, right?
You know what's funny? No.
Like, exactly.
That's basically the proposition that you're giving over the horn. That's basically.
No,
I was asking a question because I got to be prepared.
So let me give you the reverse, right? So let me give you the reverse. let me hurt your heart a little bit. So $12,000 of 2015. So if we use $12,000 from the year 2015 and adjust it down for inflation, that would be worth $408.
Wait, how does math work? What are you saying?
It's going backwards, basically. So basically, what in reference to what it was back then. So if we adjust to $12,000 for inflation for 1858, it would be worth today. That's like saying if we offer someone $12,000 back then, that's like saying someone offered us $352,000 today.
Oh, thanks for that helping hand. I couldn't figure out that math there. Okay.
Yeah. So if it was back then, if they were using the inflation calculator for today, someone offering us $12,000 using the currency from 1858 would be like them offering us $408.
That's awesome. Wait, so you getting a person for $408?
Yeah. If that was what we were doing.
I'm not surprised, but I'm just,
Say like a dude from 1858. A dude from 1858 time traveled and came here and said, if he said, I'm going to give you $408. To him, that's a lot of money. But to us, that's like, fuck no.
That's Comcast.
I'm trying to, whose bill is $400 for Comcast?
I'm just saying, that's 2 months worth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
but for the 352.
Yeah.
If we can return to that number, I'm in. So
I'm gonna do it even worse, right? So if a dude from 1858 today,
this is G.
A dude from 1858 today said, "Listen, I'm gonna give you $2.55 per person you kill." To him, that's like him offering you $75.
Okay, can I go kill them back in his time, or do I have to kill him here?
Well, again, this isn't about trying to figure out when you can kill somebody. This is just showing you these motherfuckers.
But I still think it's a relevant question, though. Like, still.
Yeah, it is.
I still think it's relevant.
Well, back then, you all you had to do back then was go to the court and pick up the bounty. That shit say dead or alive. Like, okay, it's like back in Hateful Eight, right? So when he said, it say it's dead or alive, why is she still alive? And he was saying, I'm not gonna cheat the hangman. I get it. You know what I mean? And then Samuel Jackson was like, if it say dead or alive, he ain't never brought nobody back alive. And he was like, when he told Dumgu, you just killed the only person that was inclined to get you back alive. If I'm back then, I'm thinking dead or alive. I don't know that I'm trying to go through the hassle of bringing you back alive. If I'm going to get the same amount of money.
That was kind of the biggest thing out of the whole movie is like, we shoot you back. We shoot you at a perch. We ain't got to do nothing. He said this job ain't supposed to be that easy. He said it ain't supposed to be that hard neither. It's pretty much the same. But it's kind of weird. Like if we look at all, like so, if we think that everybody died in the haberdashery, say everybody died there. It was $108,000. Now you could calculate that however you want, but
get the 108 on there.
It was and back in the day, it was $108,000 left in that haberdashery that nobody collected, not one person.
So today, that's worth $3,176,470.59.
So now we know what the mayor really gave up.
That's a lot. Like I'm not. I know, like none of us are sitting here as millionaires, but that's a lot to give up.
Yeah,
over
man.
just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Cam, what was your favorite scene? What was your favorite scene, Cam?
I thought we did dialogue. Favorite scene.
Yeah.
No, I think I said that when Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yours was both.
Escalated in the monologue where he cut his hand. That was my favorite scene, just because of how his emotions. And I heard it was in one take, right?
Yes, it was in one take.
Yeah, this is all in one take. So so however long it took him to do that, or however that happened, to watch him escalate into the various stages he went through to end with absolute fury, and then to bring it on back like business transaction. I thought that was amazing. I like Leonardo DiCaprio a lot in that movie, but that was particularly my favorite scene because it was terrifying. Like, as you slowly started to realize that Leo wasn't with this, and you realize the tables were kind of turning, I was petrified.
Yeah,
he really gave off like the sheer evil that he is.
I think I'm gonna say a different favorite. My favorite scene initially was the mask scene where they was trying to cut the holes in, but since that one was mentioned, I'm gonna say when they first met Don Johnson, because I was watching it with my mom and she was like, that's that Don Johnson from Miami Vice, and he said, "Nigga."
You know who his daughter is, right?
No, who's his daughter?
Dakota Johnson. Dakota Johnson is the woman that's in 50 Shades.
Oh goodness! Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Melanie Griffin. That's their daughter.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You only get that here on the OTAP show.
But you can get it on Wikipedia. I mean, it's there. But
so when he was saying, when Christoph Waltz told him, he said, Django, he's to be treated basically like me. And he was trying to explain it to the chick, and she was like, "So treat him like he's white." He was like, "No, I didn't say that." and so that made me think, right? So you think about today, right? So you have a dude that's he shooking and jiving, to be hanging around the white dudes. And they like that because, he's no longer a threat to them. But they don't want to treat you white just yet. You just, you cool enough to be in our presence because now, we know you ain't a threat to us. But you ain't white. And I think we kind of, the way that they turned on. So if you guys watched the OJ documentary, how OJ was... OJ was lily white all day. You know what I mean? Like he was like, I was like, wow, I didn't even realize, just how far up their ass he was. But they turned on him in a split second. Like, just like that. He was never quite white. You see what I'm saying? So that scene made me think about that and how that might relate to today.
I think that might be another topic for another thing because I can run completely, but I won't. But I will say that that's how it's kind of look. Like you can look at it as we can treat them like we can't treat them like it was like Don Johnson was the upper echelon of white people in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But you can't treat Jamie Foxx like the upper echelon of white people. You could treat him like some random person that work in the steel mill. Like you could treat him like him. Like you can't treat him like a nigga because that's too low. Because he's free. So you got to kind of look at it. But you can't necessarily treat him like you can come in the house because that's too much. You got to treat him like, oh, you can come get my milk. You can't come in the house, but I won't treat you bad. You can still ride this horse. And I think people don't understand that even with what we do today, it's kind of the same way. Like you won't necessarily that platform.
Yes.
Necessarily get to that plateau that's saying, oh, me and this person is equal because we ain't never gonna be equal. But since you was a respectable nigga, to have you up here is perfectly fine. But we won't necessarily treat you as the nigga on the block. We won't necessarily do that to you. But we'll treat you as like the mid-level type of shit. It is scary when you look at it. Like, it is terrifying.
Do you ever, because I know whenever I watch, any kind of piece, in the set during slavery, it's so hard for me not to be frustrated. And not like frustrated at, well, I'm also frustrated today. There's 1,000 different things. But I just think about how many people didn't have the chance I have in 2016. Like, I guess I can look back on slavery in a movie and I can say that was the past and it's a little bit different now. But there are so many people, I don't know if I can properly say this, but there are so many people that lived in that frustration and didn't have the ability to even write a letter of complaint that we can kind of do now. I'm not sure where it would go, but we kind of have avenues to express our frustration or discomfort or when we're wronged. And I can't imagine being in a position where someone could wrong me and I can't say anything. It gets hard for me watching those because I was born in 83, so I have no idea what it feels like to be boxed in that manner. So I always feel, I don't know, however I feel watching these, I always feel so frustrated by the people who lived in the time.
What would you
because
guys...
we don't really understand it, right? We don't really understand living in the times, right? Like, we don't really... Like, because we always look at it like, you know what? We've always had this privilege. And I'm not even saying privilege like we have this, like, grand scale of some shit. I'm just saying in the sense of, like, you know what? You can't call me a nigga at work. Like, period. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, you can't call me. But that's what was happening back then. And they couldn't say shit about somebody calling at work. So we couldn't even understand that whole concept. Like, dude, maybe I would have been rebelling. Oh, yeah, like, maybe you wouldn't have.
I can't imagine that somebody could lay down with me and force themselves upon me. And it wasn't even considered really forcing themselves upon you. That was just...
Yeah, it was kind of like standard protocol.
Yeah, that's just what they did. You were their property. I can't imagine that. And then having to bear that child and share that child or half their DNA with that. And I have no recourse. I can't say no. I have to give up 9 months. I have to give up weaning. I have to give up my body. And then they could sell that child or take it away wholly, put it in the big house and it's not mine at all. And then teach that child to look down at mommy and call mommy a nigger. Like, that just, as a woman.
Yeah, that's, you know, and I understand, like, that's a lot, though. And that's the thing, like, for us to either turn against our women, turn against our color, you know what I mean? Like, look at the fact that, like Corey, like, you darker than me, and I don't look at you any type of way, but you darker than me, and I'm looking at that like, oh, okay, like, maybe I might have been the house nigga, you know what I mean? Maybe I might have just because I'm lighter, not because I'm different.
Yeah,
just because I'm lighter.
Yeah,
and that's the scariest part about that. And then how do you groom somebody so hard? Like, okay, I'm so used to this thing. I'm so used to being in the house. I'm so used to sleeping on this bed. I don't have to be outside. I don't have to pick cotton. I don't have to do any of this shit. So now for me, I'm better than you. So fuck you and fuck what you talking about because I got this in here. That's a hard way to look at it. And I think the bad part about, like, either how we be on Twitter and a lot of different shit, not necessarily us completely, is like how we look at it and how, like, different people look at it. Is that shit ain't no different. And it's so bad. Like, it's so bad when it's like that because it shouldn't be like that.
What do you guys think was the toughest scene to watch in Django?
Toughest scene.
Damn, you going or you want me to go? Because I already...
You go ahead and go. Yeah, go ahead.
So, like I said again, the use of the word nigga, and it kind of come full circle to what you were saying beforehand. Is I think they said nigga in Django 248 times, something like that, give or take.
Shit.
So it's not even like Hateful Eight is not even close. Like, not.
Damn.
But yeah, like, I think for me, being able to see, like, Django trying to save his woman and then he get captured, and to know that if it wasn't for Sam Jackson, now mind you, not Sam Jackson saving him or anything, but him saying, like, cutting his nuts off or whatever, you don't know how many times that's happened. He said it. He said they snip a nigga nuts off, they die, bleed out 7 or 8 minutes. Which is kind of funny because, you know, that kind of goes back to Hateful Eight. He got his nut shut off and he probably should have been dead like 9 to 10 minutes. That's neither here nor there. We're not going continuity at this point. So but no, like, I think that movie, that part for me was just like, man, like it was so many that didn't get the chance to be the hero.
Yep.
They didn't get the chance. It was kind of like snip and that's it. Regardless of what they were fighting for, regardless of what they were doing, regardless of what they were running for or whatever, it was a point where Walton Goggins was the guy. He's just like, you know what? That's it. I already know. Don't worry about it. I got you. You naked as hell. I'm cutting these shits off and have fun bleeding to death. And that was just what it was. And I think that for me, that was kind of the most cringeworthy thing for me. Because I'm a man at the end of the day. So, I mean, like, I don't want that shit to happen to me. But, you know, that was tough. That was tough to watch.
Interesting thing I just looked up. So the number of times the N-word was used in Hateful Eight was 58.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times did Leonardo DiCaprio say nigger?
And shit. I will look that one up in a little bit. The toughest scene for me to watch was when Broomhilda was in that hot box and they threw that water on her. That was tough. Like the fact that I knew that she was out there, you know what I mean? And I had come to terms with, okay, she's out there in this box. But then the way they threw the water on her, like she was just completely worthless. I could not imagine that shit.
I guess kind of piggybacking on what we're all saying here, and most certainly what Greg said, whatever movie I watch that's set in this era, I have a trouble with the ending because there really isn't a happy ending. I know they ride off into the, I guess, dusk or whatever it is, dusklight or moonlight. But you know that they're going to spend the rest of their lives on the run. And you know they're going to be hated. And you know Django's going to still be, I mean, he could be that nigga with money, but he's still going to be just less than. And so I don't know, like it's kind of like when I watch movies of people who run away from slavery. I get it, you're free, and that's awesome, and I want that for you, but I still look at the life afterwards, and that gives me, I don't know, I get really sad thinking about that because it's not 2016 at the end of Django. They still have to go through all these other years of hatred, and it's not going to be as easy as it seems, I guess, at the end. It's not going to be that storybook ending you see in a lot of other movies for a lot of other different races or ethnicities. It doesn't end with they lived happily ever after. It ends with they were on the road getting called nigger for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Damn.
I agree. No, and I agree with that. Like, this was actually because I wanted to kind of freestyle. I know, like, Cam did it a lot with what we did with the podcast before. And I actually didn't, like, I wrote notes for, like, each movie. And this is the only movie I didn't write notes for. Because I knew what it would kind of transition into.
Yeah. It was a good discussion. It was a really, really good discussion.
Well, before we go off of that, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Comparing Django to other recent movies about slavery, where does it land on there? If you want to compare to 12 Years, compare Django to that. Any other ones we've ever seen, where does that fit in there for you?
Well, was Django...
You can't ask me that.
Was Django more of a comedy?
No.
Or was it more of a comedy?
There were comedic moments.
Okay. Was it designed to be a set piece?
No. It was designed to be a Western spaghetti. It was a spaghetti Western. Like, that's what it was. It wasn't even supposed to be real, honestly. Okay. I mean, it took at it being real because, I mean, the shit happened. Like, it didn't happen. Like, it's still fiction at the end of the day. But I think it was just a spaghetti Western, and they had a ton of them 20 years ago. So,
I think it was...
I don't look at Django as the same way I look at 12 Years a Slave. I just don't. I won't look at Django the same way if I watch Birth of a Nation. I don't know. You know, I don't look. And I know you so bad because I know you want to watch it.
So let me answer her question let me answer her question first, and then I'm gonna answer that one. So perfect. I think it was an entertaining movie, but when I think of, like, if someone says, you know, what's a slave movie that you like to watch, or that you enjoy. I don't know that I would say Django, because in my head, while the contents of it dealt with, slavery and whatnot, it was heavily throughout. I didn't see it as a slavery movie. I think Spaghetti Western was a little more was more accurate. I didn't see it as a slave movie like that, in that sense.
I really did too, and I know it doesn't make sense to compare a historically accurate one with a less historically accurate, especially when you take anything Quentin Tarantino does and he takes it times 10 when it comes to gore or, et cetera, things of that nature. But I can't help when I think of movies set in that time to think of Django. Because, it's the only redemption tale that's not the only redemption tale that exists. But in cinema, when you look at our stories from those times, none of them are fiction. They're all about historical accuracy. Nobody tells a fictional, really slave love story in there. They're always about something that existed. And so what I liked about it and why I put it in there is it's because I remember one time I said, why can't black people get an eternal sunshine of the spotless mind?
And this
is not eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. But what I'm saying is that it's a story. It's a love story to me. I see love story in there. I see spaghetti western. But it's a fictional story based on a historical event that we don't get to play with enough, I think. I think we kind of focus on what happened a lot, and we should do that too. But we don't get to have, I want to say fan fiction. That's not the appropriate word, but we don't get to kind of...
It was cool. It was cool.
And I agree with that 100%. I think the bad part about that is they focus on so much of the N-word. They focus so much on that they couldn't even figure out that the black guy was the hero. They couldn't even figure that out. They looking at the point where it's just you know what? Well, he said nigga over 200 times, so this movie ain't gonna be any good. And it's just dude, really? This really one of the only times. If you really think back, and we all watch movies here that's sitting at this round table right here. But think about how many black men that you see that's heroes. Honestly, think about it. Denzel died a lot, so he ain't a hero Denzel. And that might just be a thing that people were looking at no. Denzel died in movies like Safe House, and he shouldn't. He died in movies there's no reason for that in this.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
it's a lot. People don't understand, and I'm not telling. It's the weirdest thing about Quentin Tarantino, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if we had one more of these shows or two more or however it may be, but because I'm sure we had to discuss Kill Bill at some point.
Yeah, we got it's several more movies left. We doing the entire catalog.
So, wait, we haven't done Jackie Brown either. Jesus. So
but Jackie comes with Pulp. Remember Jackie and Pulp, and then both Kill Bills.
Okay. So I think for us, we look at it a lot of people look at it well, Quentin Tarantino doing this nigga thing, he's doing this, he's doing, and I don't understand. People don't really understand how he really has black hero. He has black strong characters. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever looks at that. They always look at the other shit. Is it to a point where nigga might be used excessively? Yes. Not knocking that. If that's an argument, it's really hard to knock that. But to say name something. Give me something that you've seen recently where the black person is the hero. And I don't know that you can. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of look at that.
Look, I'm trying to run through it.
Yeah, I'm
please.
trying to think.
I don't think you have it. Django came out 2003? 2012 actually. Mm-hmm. Name something else where the black man is a hero. Regardless of what we want to look at, what he rolled out to. He killed a slave owner and blew up his house and killed everybody in there and was captured and killed everybody else to get to his woman. And his woman, as we look at it, should live happy ever after because he's free, and she's free because he has a paper. Name me something else since 2012 where a black man has done that, and you can't do it. That's not a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I
can't off the top do that.
Yeah. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson played Nick Fury, and he kind of, brought them boys back together in the Avengers.
I agree. I agree.
But in the end, he wasn't the one really, pulling the trigger. So
I'm glad both of you gentlemen hit on the, coming back to get his woman and the black love part of that, because that's why I said love story first instead of spaghetti western, and that's also because I think I have less of a experience with spaghetti westerns, but I think that's huge. How he came back for her, and how that's central to the story, and how it did not take away his masculinity.
Right.
His love for her was part of his character, and so you didn't think less of him, or he was less dangerous, or he was less committed, or less and I can't think of the word, because of his love for her. It made him more lethal and more dangerous, and I'm not sure you see that often, to where his love for the person he loves to go back to get her actually makes him even more superhuman, instead of giving him that weak spot, because his weak spot wasn't a blind spot. His love for her wasn't a blind spot. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, and it does. And I think the biggest thing for us is we need more. And I'm not trying to be that person. Like I say, I write a lot, and I'm writing screenplays or whatever. But I'm not trying to be that person where it's saying like, oh well, we need to have more. No, I'm not saying that. I want us to just look at the fact that, well, not necessarily us, but other people to look at the fact that we're not glorizing Quentin Tarantino from saying nigga and doing a lot of different things. We're not glorizing that. Like let's skate back from that for a little bit. Let's just look at the fact that you really don't get the black man being the hero unless it's a romantic comedy. Think about, if you look at any movie, the Jason Bournes of the world, the Jack Reachers, all this other things that we have, all of it is formed off a love story and an antagonist. That's it. That's all it's based off of. So we got to look at like, oh, we love Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise saves the girl. Matt Damon saves the girl, and we love it. I don't know that we can't have Denzel not dying at the end. I don't know that we can't have that.
Well, did Denzel die in The Equalizer?
Shit. I actually haven't seen that all the way to that.
All right, so I don't think he died. He was old, but that's a movie where. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. I know, like, we kind of getting off, but let me ask you a question. So, remember the movie Takers?
Yeah, love
which
that
I
movie.
actually did bad film.
You what?
I didn't bad film at all. I didn't think that it was a bad film at all. Mm-hmm. But you see how many of us died in that movie. Even in Love, even in this, you had the women, you had whatever, and so many of us died in that movie as black men, and it shouldn't have happened like that at all. But we can't have it all. Like nobody wants to make, because nobody likes it, and I think that's the biggest thing about what I was saying to you before is the ending. People gotta like the ending of any movie. You think people like the movie that ended in Scarface? No, people hated it. People hated the ending of Scarface. But it's Scarface. Like, what the fuck you gonna do? And it's a shitty movie, but what are you gonna do?
All right, so let me bring it home a little real quick. So what are we watching? What are we watching this week for next week's show?
Is it Kill Bill? We should definitely have Kill Bill. The first one should definitely be one of them.
Right. So we're gonna watch Kill Bill 1 and 2 together. So are we doing Kill Bill, the Kill Bills, or are we doing? Do you guys want to do? Whose time is it to choose? Is it who?
I don't know. I think I chose this. Then I chose.
You chose this. Cam, did you choose? Did you choose already? Cam?
Hello?
You there?
Yeah, there's no way I would pick Inglourious.
So wait,
the first one wasn't me.
Okay.
I think I might have picked Inglourious Basterds in the first.
Okay.
I think I might.
All right, so Cam, you choose this movie this week then.
It's gonna be Jackie and Pope for me.
Jackie and Pope.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna watch Jackie Brown. And we're gonna watch Pulp Fiction. So on next week's show of Tarantino Unscripted, we're gonna be reviewing those films. We're gonna have great discussion on those. This is a good discussion, y'all. This is a really good discussion. Yeah,
we went from comedy to deep stuff, and I learned how to fight tonight.
Yeah. Right. All right, so you can follow us on Twitter. Follow Cam on Twitter at Just Mute Me Now. You can follow Greg on Twitter at DuWade Jack Turner. You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Shitty. For Cam and for Greg, this has been another episode of the OTAP Show presents Tarantino Unscripted. Peace.